How to Manage Bipolar Disorder Like a Pro, the Muslim edition. It's been almost, I can't count now, over almost 20 years that I've had bipolar disorder. And along the way, I've learned a couple of things that I want to share with you that inshallah will help you manage your own bipolar disorder. Now, these things you can actually apply to any mental illness management. So whether it's anxiety or depression, there are only two things that are particular to bipolar in this episode or video or podcast episode, wherever you're listening or watching. So two things are particular, but everything else you can actually apply to any mental illness or mental health challenge. And I have an ebook that I actually outlined all this in that you can get on my website at mentallyfitmuslims.org/ebooks. So I have a three-step program that I use to manage bipolar. The first step is what I like to call Heart Like Heaven, which is essentially your soul, where you work on your soul. The second part is Mind Like Water, which is where you're working on your mind, and which includes depression and mania. And the last one is Breezy Body, which talks about your body. The first one, Heart Like Heaven, focusing on your mind. I've been able to manage bipolar, and I like to say master bipolar. And mastery is not when you actually arrive somewhere and you're done and you're not getting sick anymore and you've cured bipolar. There's no cure for bipolar. Rather, for me, mastery is that you're on a constant path to self-improvement, that every day you wake up and you ask yourself, okay, how am I going to manage this better? How am I going to learn from bipolar today and use it to get closer to Allah? And that's the distinguishing feature or quality that we have as Muslims. Everything that we do is for Allah, and everything that we do can be turned into worship just by setting the right intention. So when I talk about Heart Like Heaven, I mean that you want to point your heart towards Allah or towards heaven. You want to make sure that everything you're doing in this life is for His sake, including managing bipolar and mastering it. So that's the first part. Why does that matter? Why do you want to be doing it for Allah? Why do you want to be managing bipolar or treating it or mastering it, as I call it? Why do you want to be doing it for Allah? Well, for one thing, often this illness will bog you down. You will feel utterly consumed by it, especially when you're trying to treat it in the early phase or you're sick and you're in an episode. You're going to feel controlled by it. You're going to feel as if you have no power over it. And at that time, you need something that is greater than you. You need to be managing this illness for something that is higher than you. If you simply do it for yourself, there's going to be times where you hate yourself. Especially when you have suicidal thoughts, there's going to be times when you don't want to get up in the morning, when you just don't care about anything in the world, including yourself. At that time, when you care for Allah, when you care about Him, and when you live for Him, then it gives you a higher purpose for managing this illness. You have something that's higher than you. You have something that's outside than you, and you know that committing suicide is not an option. It's not something you're allowed, as in Islam. Suicide is not allowed. So when you work on your relationship with Allah, especially when you're feeling well, when things are calm, when there's no storm, then when the storm does hit, all those things that you've built up, all those things that you learned, all the videos you watch, all the podcast episodes you listen to, they start to kick in. The lessons from those episodes will start to kick in and help you manage that storm. So when you are well, think of Allah, do your 5 salah, do your adhkar, be in good company, go to a halaqah, even if it means over Zoom or online. Listen to healthy podcasts, Islamic ones. Listen to Islamic lectures on YouTube. follow Islamic sheikhs, trustworthy ones on Instagram and Facebook. Basically, everything that you consume, make it Allah centered, Allah focused, so that when you do get sick with bipolar, and you will, those episodes happen, no matter how well you treat it, just expect to have those episodes. It's okay. It's not a personal failing. Allah's not punishing you. It's okay to have that. So when those do come, then your heart is pointed towards Allah and you're managing this illness for Allah, so everything will be okay. That is what I mean by heart like heaven. Point your heart towards Allah so that no matter what is going on outside that heart, it doesn't matter, it doesn't faze you. Number 2, the second step to mastering bipolar is to have a mind like water. A mind like water is focusing on the mind. At the same time, it is something that is much more fluid. So that means that you're flexible, that no matter what happens outside you, what happens to your body, your mind is still able to be flexible and go with the flow. When we talked about the heart and heart like heaven, when we talked about the soul, the heart, that has to be something that's stable and doesn't move. It has a sturdy foundation. So no matter what is going on outside, it stays calm and it stays centered. Mind like water, with your mind, you want to be flexible. So that means that, let's say you're in mania, which is, the upside of bipolar, or you're in depression, your mind is able to adjust to it and do the best it can for self-preservation, for making sure other people are not harmed by your actions, for getting the help that you need if you're having suicidal thoughts. And a really good way to have a mind like water, or a healthy mind, is that to set up support systems in place when you are well, so that when you do get sick, those support systems catch you. So it's like spreading out a net. A lot of the work is done when you are healthy, when you are well. You don't go and set up a support system when you are locked up in the psych ward. Okay, that's not the time. You won't be able to. It just won't work. So what you want to do is that when you are well, get a psychiatrist, get a psychologist, get a social worker, get in touch with a crisis center that can help you and help you network with the community, have friends, have family. When you can afford it, have a personal trainer, have a dietitian. All these people are there to help you, to support you, especially when you get sick. So let's say you're having suicidal thoughts. A social worker can't help you. It's best to go to the hospital. So at that time, a psychiatrist and a hospital crew team can help you. But let's say you have to fill out some forms, some medical forms, or to get some benefit, and you just don't know where to look. Then at that time, a social worker can help you. So what you're doing for your mind to lessen that load whenever you could get sick, you're setting up that support system when you are well. When it comes to mania and depression, the number one way to manage and master bipolar, when it's clinically diagnosed and it's bipolar 1, not bipolar 2, is medications. Medications do work. They do work. I often don't like them. I don't like the side effects. I don't like what they do to my body. But subhanAllah, man, what they do to the brain is amazing, especially when it comes to mania and suicidal thoughts. And it's been my experience that every time I go off of medications, I get sick. So you really want to make sure that you're taking your medications, especially the ones that are prescribed, and you take them the way the doctor is telling you. Don't play around with them. Don't mess with them. And I put up a YouTube shorts where I showed you that I have a Dispel that the pharmacist dispenses, and I use it to take my medication, so I don't have to think about it. I just take the the little box. The medication is already inside it. The pharmacist puts all the pills, and the morning ones are in a separate box, the evening ones are in a separate box, and every day I just take whichever one, the appropriate one. So if you have multiple medications, talk to your pharmacist and get a Dispel. It's really handy, and it makes taking medications automatic. You don't have to think about it. So that's one way to manage the mania and depression, both of which are part of bipolar. So specifically with mania, what you want to do is overall keep your environment calm. Do not have too much stimulation. And you can use these tips when you find yourself going into mania or going up. You find yourself going towards that way. Cut down on your stimulation. So if it's summer, most of the time mania often happens in summer, it gets triggered by it, then cut down on light. So stay indoors, stay away from the sun. Cut down the social events that you have, going out too much, interacting with too many people. Even get away from devices, because you might be posting too much on social media, or you might be sharing stuff that is inappropriate, that's personal. The other thing is to give your bank cards to your family. And also online, don't save your bank information. Like on Amazon, don't have your credit card already saved, or on the Apple Store or wherever, so that you can't make those purchases very easily. You can't make purchases. In mania, a lot of people do that. They do make unnecessary purchases, and when they come out of it, they realize that all the money that they've spent unnecessarily. So let your family know beforehand. And it's a good idea to teach your family these symptoms of mania, or educate them on bipolar, so that they can see when you are getting sick and they can actually help you. So it might be something as simple as sharing this video and letting them see it, so that they know when you're getting sick and they can help you. With depression, what you can do is it usually happens in the winter time for a lot of people. Just here, you would do the opposite of mania, where you would go and see friends. You would kind of get out of bed, take a shower, change your clothes, wear light colored clothing. That'll really lift your mood. And pray on time, even if that means you're sitting down and praying, or even you're lying down and praying. But don't stop praying. That is your pivotal, that is your central way of getting better, especially as a Muslim. In mania, you might find that you're praying too much, or you're being overly religious. Then you have to cut back down. And if you find you've gone too far in mania and you can't cut back down, you can't hold yourself, the impulse control is all gone, it's okay. It's okay to go and get help. And especially, like I said, when you've educated your support group on the signs of your bipolar and depression, they can jump in and get help for you when you've lost your insight and you're not able to. So that's the mind like water, where you focus on your mind, the aspect of mania and depression. And before, I talked about heart like heaven, where you are centering and making your moral compass pointed towards Allah, so that no matter what happens outside, you stay firm on His path. And maybe for you, for Muslim sisters, a big part of that is wearing hijab, because it reminds you of your identity. It reminds you of your promise and connection with Allah, so that you stay firm on that ground. The last part is breezy body. And this part, it's not really attractive, but it's part of it, which is taking care of your body, which means eating healthy, eating on time, and moving. Doing just even light movement is fine. Now, when you're in mania, the tendency is going to be for you to move too much and not eat at all and not sleep at all. So at that time, when, like I said, when mania has gone too far, you need to get help. You need to be hospitalized. But every day, you want to make sure that you're not overdoing it in your exercise. You're not overdoing it and being really strict in your diet or what you're eating. Just be moderate. Exercise once a day, 5 days a week, and eat 3 meals. Okay, don't go a whole day. And intermittent fasting, or 1 meal a day, or where you're going long periods without eating, is not really a good idea for people with bipolar. You can try it. If it works for you, okay. In my experience, it hasn't really worked well, because when I stop eating, it sends me into mania. So it's not really a good idea to do that generally. That might not be the case for you, so you find out what is good for you. Exercising. When you're in mania, you have a tendency to just overdo everything, okay? And when it comes to exercise as well. So every day, just make sure you're very regular in it and you're very moderate. I fall into this trap so many times that once when I see that I'm exercising too much or eating too strictly, I know mania is coming and I have to take my some medications that are prescribed as needed. I need to take that to calm myself down and bring myself down to reality. The other thing is eating right. That's not always easy, especially when you're in depression. You just want processed foods, you just want sugary foods. So instead of, especially when you're in depression, instead of trying to control that, tea break, instead of trying to control the symptom of overeating and things like that, go to the cause, which is the depression. And I know this is not easy for somebody to say, you know what, stop eating, or just go and manage the depression, go at the root of the problem. It's not easy, especially when you're inside the storm, when you are so depressed that you don't care about anything. You don't care about showering, you don't care about watching what you eat, you definitely don't want to move and do exercise, you don't want to get out of bed, you definitely don't feel like praying. And this is where the discipline and the hard part comes in. When you are well, when you have moments of wellness, recovery, whatever you want to call it, when there's no storm, you need to have a disciplined life. That means eating well, moving well, praying. I know it's a lot. Having healthy relationships, keeping your environment clean, consuming healthy content, all those things are very important, because when you flex that and when you train that discipline muscle, when you get sick, I'm not saying that you're not going to have all those symptoms, but it will be easier to manage them. That means the repercussions you're going to have from those symptoms will be a lot less, because you work so hard to discipline yourself so that when you do get sick, you are not it doesn't hit you as bad. So when you're depressed and you're reaching for those foods, don't beat yourself up. It's not because you have no willpower. It's not because you're a bad person. It's not because you're fat and you're just eating for the sake of eating. No, you have a mental disorder that's causing this symptom, and your body is just shutting down, and you're just using food as a coping mechanism. Now, it doesn't have to be food. For some people, it might be TV. For some people, in mania, it might be unhealthy relationships or hypersexuality. For some people, it's the overspending. And for some people who are really tested, it might be gambling or pornography. So many different ways of dealing with the symptoms of a mental illness can happen. But when you have the right support network, like, the net that I was talking about, when you have that, then those things are there to catch you when you fall. So that when your family sees that you're acting a certain way, which is out of your character, they'll step up to call your doctor, even call 911 to get you help. So yes, when you're feeling down, your diet is going to be off whack. You're not going to be exercising. So in that time, just do what you can. Exercise means just getting out of bed might be enough. Eating well, the way to help with that is that when you're not sick, you're in a moment of wellness, then buy healthy foods so that your pantry only has healthy snacks. You only have fruits and vegetables in your fridge, so that when you are sick, you have no choice but to reach for those, because there's nothing else. So that's something I really try to do, and I found it really helpful, because when you're depressed, you're not going to go out to the store, you're not going to go to a restaurant and eat something really unhealthy, because, well, you hardly have any energy. So those are the 3 things I use to master bipolar, and I really believe that I've mastered bipolar because I see it as an everyday journey. Every day I'm doing something to, again, take care of the bipolar. I'm either reading a book, watching a video, taking a course, writing, journaling, praying to Allah. Whatever I'm doing, I make sure to do it consistently, and it's a daily thing. That is mastery. I don't believe mastery is a destination that you get to and then that's it. Mastery is a journey where you wake up every day and say, okay, how can I get closer to Allah using the bipolar I have? So I've used these 3 things to master bipolar. First one is focusing on the heart, making sure it's stable and focused and centered towards Allah. The second is the mind, making sure the mind is flexible, so no matter which way it goes, you can give yourself a break and have those support systems in place so they catch you when you are falling, when you are going to the extremes of bipolar. The last part is the body, focusing on exercising and eating well and setting up systems in place so that when you are unwell, you can still do a little bit. You can do something that will help you. All right, I hope this video helped you. Please share it with your family and friends. They need to be educated on bipolar as well so they can help you. And remember to subscribe to this channel so more people can learn about bipolar and we can master this together. All right, see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.